And we are live. Hey guys, this is Ruben from Dubb's podcast Connection Loop. And I'm psyched to be talking to Shawn right now because there's a topic that we have to get into that I keep hearing opposing views on this, and I kind of have my own ideas about this. You know, this classic expression of the gold is in the follow-up. It's true to a certain extent, but what is the true balance? What's the Zen balance of providing value, not being too pushy, continually wanting to generate demand and have people come to us instead of thwart ourselves upon them. So I'd love to get into this topic. First, let us know about yourself. Give us a short little bio, and then let's get into this.
Perfect. My name is Shawn Finder. I'm the founder and CEO of Autoklose. Former semi-professional tennis player, gone entrepreneur about 6 years ago. Autoklose is my second startup. ExchangeLeads was my first, and Autoklose, as most of you know, is a sales engagement tool.
And I'm gonna guess that you play at the net. You're not a baseline player.
I'm actually a baseliner.
Okay.
I'm a counterpuncher, so I'm
okay.
5 feet behind the baseline and just grinding away.
So you take your opponent's energy and you use it against them.
Yeah, bring them to the net and just pass them.
There you go. Fair enough, man. Fair enough. So what's going on? Let's get into this whole idea of the follow up. You know. Always be closing, grinding. There are this terminology in sales that I don't care for so much, and I don't like to be the subject of it. But at the same time, I really appreciate people that are perseverant and people that stay on top of me, because sometimes I know that something is a priority for me to do, but I haven't found someone as a guide to take me to the promised land. So I just kind of let it go, and I say, you know what, I don't want to go there because I don't maybe understand it. So let's get into this idea of the follow-up.
Yeah. So I'll tell you, first off, I think a lot of people don't realize when you're in sales, your job is to be in that balance between persistent and annoying. You need to obviously not be annoying, but you do have to be persistent, because if you're not being persistent, I always tell our sales guys, if you're not being persistent enough, you can bet your life your competitors are being consistent and following up. So I think you have to find that balance. And I think a lot of salespeople are either on one end of the spectrum. So I think that's very important when it comes to follow-up.
Okay. And then what are some things that you might recommend in this day and age, in this environment, to really do this in a mindful way, where we're effectively respecting people's time?
Yeah. So I always tell people, don't beat around the bush pretending like you're not cold emailing somebody. Embrace the cold email. Like, even use sometimes in this example in your subject line, hashtag this is a cold email. But I'll say the biggest mistake I find people do in follow-ups is they talk too much about themselves. They try and introduce themselves. Hi, my name is Shawn Finder. I am the CEO ... When you should just, in your follow-up, just really be personalized and try and hit that prospect's pain point. Because if you can, they're more likely to reply to your follow-ups.
So you just said something that was kind of jarring. I'm just jotting some notes here. You said that the subject line should actually say and reference the fact that it's a cold email. Is that what you said?
Well, sometimes, why not? I mean, I personally, when I get a cold call, for example, the first thing I'll ask someone is it a cold call? 50% of people say, no, it's not a cold call. And then when they do their pitch, it is a cold call. I rather work and listen to somebody that is honest with me. So using hashtag this is a cold email is not a bad idea. Don't use it all the time. But if somebody wants, they're going to know it's a cold email anyway, so you might as well just admit it.
You know what, man? That's pretty amazing. I'm realizing I'm connecting the dots here. The way that you and I connected was from a cold call. Did you know that?
No, I did not know that.
Okay, you and I are talking because of a cold call. Amir from Cloud Task cold called either, was it me or was it Darius? I'm trying to remember. And as a result, we started a convo, created a partnership. He was on the podcast. We got into it. And now here you and I are. So the next time someone says that cold calling and cold emailing doesn't work, I'm going to remind them of this, not just one relationship, but multiple that's leading to like actual revenue. So cold is not dead. Cold is not cold.
And funny you say that. The first time I actually got was Amir reached out to me about 1.5 years ago, and it was through a cold call.
Yeah.
And then he sent me about 3 emails, and then after that, I met him. I met up with him in Miami, and we've become very, very close now. We're almost like, we push ideas back and forth, and that all came through a cold call and a cold email. So it's not dead, and it does work.
I think one of the things as I start to really dissect this, there's this idea of confidence and this idea of being comfortable in your own skin, to the point where you can admit what you're doing, to the point where you don't have to hide behind something. You don't have to hide behind a title or saying, hey, I'm such and such person, I do such and such thing.
Yeah.
That takes guts. Okay, that takes a certain amount of clarity, confidence to be able to do that stuff. I see it more times where people, the reason why they can't communicate with that, authenticity is because it's a lack of confidence, really. And the reason why I can say this is because I've been there. I know what it's like. I know what it's like to say, hey, I'm the CEO of X, Y, and Z company. I would love to get some of your time to show you how this is amazing.
Typical
blah, blah,
email.
blah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? I've been there. I know what that's like. So how do you peel off those layers of insecurity? Being a sportsman yourself is so relevant for this because, mindset is so important to this when you're on the court. I'm a tennis player too, so I know I've never played competitively, unless you count my dad and his friends. But anyways, you see where I'm going with this. How do we kind of work through this?
So I always tell people, I mean, and you said it, it's still one of those common mistakes I see as people in that first sentence talk about themselves. I always bring it back to dating. If you go on a date and you talk about yourself for 90% of the time, you're probably not getting a second date. It's the exact same thing with email. So I always tell people, follow the 3-second rule. You have 3 seconds when you write that email to get that person's attention. So do you want to talk about yourself, or do you want to talk about a pain point or a challenge that person might be facing? And I always do that 3 seconds, because if you're going to introduce yourself and your company, well, guess what? They can go to my email and see Shawn@autoklose.com. They know my name. They know my company. I don't have to repeat myself.
So give me an example of the 3-second rule. Let's say that you're on a pitch. This is a cold email that's going out. I want to get into your mindset. Because I know what it's like to write these emails. You write a bunch of stuff and then you delete it, and then you write it again and then you delete it, and it starts this long and then it goes to this long, and it's like it's a whole process. You read it 20. The more insecure you are, the more times you read it for typos. Like I know about this. So let's get into your mind, Shawn. Explain us your mindset here.
Okay. Let's say my buyer's persona might be a salesperson, SDR, or sales manager. If I sent them an email, my first line would be something like this. Ruben, if I can save you 15 hours a week in prospecting, but also fill your calendar with qualified demos, would you give me 15 minutes for a call next week? ? And then I'll do like 2-3 sentences after that. So now, if I'm that person, I look like, well, if you can save me 15 hours and you're going to book my calendar with meetings, yeah, I'll give you 15 minutes.
Yeah.
But that's the mindset I like to do. Now, don't get me wrong. If I'm talking to a business owner, it might be, if I can triple your revenue, because owners want revenue, SDRs want leads. It all depends on that buyer's persona. But something like that's 3 seconds, that's going to potentially resonate with that person is what I like to do.
So your mindset really comes down to, who is this person? What are their ultimate goals? What is the problem that they're suffering from? And then how can you provide value to ultimately help them accomplish their goals, be happier, make more money and whatnot, right?
You got it. And the other 3-second rule that I would do is on the other side is something personalized. So let's, for example, say the Kansas City Chiefs win the Super Bowl like they did last year. My sales guys will reach out to people in Kansas City and use that Kansas City as a nugget in that first 3 seconds of their email, because everyone in Kansas City is so excited that they won the championship. And you use that as a 3-second rule to get them to read the rest of your email. And now, obviously, you don't want to write long emails. 75 to 125 words max for any cold email on your initial email is what I like to tell people.
One of the things that we're trying to do to this point is we're trying to change the way that people communicate with video. That's what Dubb is all about. Dubb is all about that, and we are going all in on this. Now, the rules are changing. This idea of providing the value up front is so critical. Now, the thing that we're always trying to figure out for ourselves, but then also teach our user base is how to incorporate some of these rules that you're mentioning when you are using a webcam video, a screen video, some sort of a personalized, video asset that's going to get shared with that email or LinkedIn message or SMS. Have you seen any? Do you have any ideas for us? Have you seen any stuff that works? Any things that we should avoid?
Yeah, I first off, I love video. I think if you really want to stand out when you're prospecting, especially now that people are working from home, if you use video, you are going to get a better reply or better conversion than somebody sending text. Now, video is the same thing. People sometimes send 5-6 minute videos where people don't want to watch a 6-minute video. So you got to try and, I don't know what you guys like to say, but I usually like to say, 45 to 90 seconds is what I like to do for a video. And you'll probably be an expert at this more than I am. But it's the same thing. Instead of the 3-second rule of the email, I would say your first 6 to 10 seconds on the video is crucial, because at the end of the day, you want them to watch your whole video. And if you start talking about yourself at the front of the video, they're going to know it's a cold video. You're trying to sell them something. They're probably not going to watch the entire thing. So I would say it's probably the same method, but probably a little bit longer, maybe 6 to 10 seconds. But I think the number one mistake people write is long videos, which, I don't have time to watch a 6-minute video. Tell me everything in 90 seconds.
Now, what you touch upon is something that I think about a lot, which is that when we have confidence, when we know our material, we require less time to write about it, to visually show about it, to record a video about it. Yeah. When we don't have clarity, what happens is we just start rambling.
Oh, yeah.
And that's our creative mind that's trying to make connections and to figure out ways to communicate, right?
Yeah.
But when we get ultimately to that higher level, then we can pitch in 30 seconds. We can get into an elevator, and in 30 seconds we can express ourselves. And then we can hook someone. We can say, "Hey, look, this is what we got. Are you interested?" And chances are our conversion rate is going to be significantly higher. What would you say is the process that you recommend that people go through to really get it into their bones? A new SDR, someone that's trying to sell a new product, a new VP of sales. How can they gain that confidence, gain that clarity to speak less?
That's a great question. I mean, well, first off, I speak way too quick, so I could probably do a 3-minute video in like 90 seconds. But I think it all comes down to, personally, I never liked being on video. And I think you have to, before you start prospecting, use video, you could be doing stuff like you're doing, like doing a podcast, like getting familiar with different things. Go on LinkedIn and just do a short video. So get used to it. And the way you're going to get your confidence is by creating these videos that provide value and having people engage in them, watch your videos, watch you on podcasts as a guest, as a speaker. So I think the only way to actually get familiar or confident is by practicing and doing it a lot. It's just like anything else. How did I get good in tennis? It wasn't from just standing on a tennis court. It was 6 hours a day of playing every single day for 15 years until I can reach my peak. So I think the recommendation I would give is, get on the video, start doing Instagram videos, just keep doing videos and videos and videos, and you will get familiar with it because it worked for me. And as I said, I never liked being on video, and now I think every single day of every week I'm on video at some point.
Love that, man. Love that response. That was so concise. I'm picturing you on the court, winning. I'm picturing you winning at this game, and people look at you and they say, this guy, he was gifted. He's got a talent that I don't have. I could never play like that. I can't play tennis like that. Look at his serve. Look at his forehand. I could never touch that. And now I'm picturing you on a court with 236 balls spread across the court, a machine in the back next to you, cuts and bruises on your elbows. Okay, it's 5 a.m. and you're putting in the dues, and that's the thing that people don't see, right? And you mentioned that a little bit. It's putting in the time, which people just sometimes they don't want to do it, So please tell us, please remind us of the necessity, the importance of that grind to be practicing 6 hours a day for a decade or 2 decades to really get our craft to where we want it to be.
Yeah, well, first off, it's almost like you watch me play tennis because my serve and my forehand were my 2 best shots, and my backhand was my worst. So, and my volleys are suspect. So,
hey, I'm just mirroring, man. That's me.
You knew my game, but as you said it, for example, when I was early on, I'll give you like a little story. I had for anyone who knows tennis, I had a terrible second serve. people would attack my second serve. And I knew for me to be, a top ranked player in the world at that point, I need to improve it. So what did I do? At least at 200 balls, I was doing 400 to 500 serves every single day until I crafted that serve, until I worked down the tee on the ad side, the do side. So it's the same thing as business. And one of the things I always look for, off topic a little bit, in a salesperson is somebody that's actually played a competitive sport. I look on their resume, because somebody that's played a competitive sport is competitive. So they either love to win or they hate to lose. And those are the type of people that I like to work with. So if you want to craft it, you have to go out and practice. You have to go out and, on video, you have to go practice. You have to practice your tone of voice, the speed you talk, everything, your background, your colored shirt, everything has to be crafted, because ideally, video is the new norm. When in the next few years, if you are not using video for prospecting, you will be left behind. So it's one thing I think people are not 100% all in yet, but it's something that everyone needs to be all in. So now is the time to start crafting it, because it's not only for prospecting, but videos everywhere. Videos on every social media channel. It's on LinkedIn. Everyone has live streams. It's on TikTok, you name it, it's all video. So I think it's one thing to start getting familiar with it, but just keep practice, and then you'll get comfortable. And obviously at the end of the day, like you said, Ruben, very confident.
Okay, let's get into a topic that you mentioned, which is this idea of competitiveness, right? So
Yeah.
you've played sports competitively. You're attracted to those types of folks that love to win, hate to lose. That makes total sense to me. It's critical in sales. It's critical. You have to have that burning desire, right? Now, some people didn't necessarily follow that path in their life. Now, they still want to win. They want to earn. They want to provide value. They want to feed their family, but they don't have necessarily that, I don't want to call it a killer instinct, but they don't have that competitive nature per se, right? It's not about, I have to win over these other people. It's that rising tide raises all boats, and that ultimately my goal is to provide value. Now, I'm not saying either one is correct. I've been watching Cobra Kai, so I'm a little like brainwashed right now, because there's I don't know if you're watching that show. It's insane. It's funny. I actually binged watch it, and talk about this idea of like balance, competitiveness. This is the reboot of the Karate Kid. So, where do you kind of stand with this idea of folks that don't necessarily connect to the idea of being competitive, but that ultimately want to provide a ton of value to help people? Someone like, I don't know, Tony Robbins, was he an athlete? Does he have that athlete, hyper sort of competitive mentality? I don't know. What is your take on that in terms of personality type?
So if what I like to tell, if you're not a pit bull salesperson, you have to really provide, as you said, value and educate and content. So you almost have to become like a master of your craft. And what I mean by that, and this is more important now than ever, because I think there's so many tools out there and so many products and services that are very similar. So how do you do that? Say, for example, I'm selling a sales engagement tool to you, Ruben, but I speak to you and you're telling me, well, I'm also looking for a CRM. I'm also looking for a software cold call. Educate them and become that go-to consultant on CRMs. Tell them what the difference between using Pipedrive and Salesforce is. Tell them what the difference between this and this is. Tell them between Connect and Sell and something else. Between Dubb video and video. Become a master of your craft. Explain the differences and be more of take a consultative selling approach than a solution selling approach. So that's what I really tell our sales guys. Because we have one sales guy, like you said, he's not as competitive as me. He's not as hungry as me, but he is more knowledgeable about all the different softwares out there. Use that. Find that one thing that you might have as a competitive advantage over the other person and use that to your advantage. So I would say show value and definitely educate and consult your prospects.
Nice. We've received a lot of positive feedback on Autoklose, by the way. We've had so many requests. We had so many requests to build the integration, which we have now. I don't know if you've had a chance to see that. At some point, I'd love to get your feedback on that. And what we did was we built the Dubb integration via the Chrome extension to work with Autoklose. So, this idea of an ecosystem is something that I'm really passionate about. And
Yep.
this idea of a network, a larger network,
Yep.
coming together with you, connecting with you. This is a testament to the power of the ecosystem. There is so much sunshine to go around. The markets that we're playing in, they're trillion dollar, multi-trillion dollar markets, right? There is so much competition. There's so much sunshine to go around that competition. In my mind, it doesn't really mean much, because for every company, for every individual, there's going to be some provider that maybe does it better, right? So one of the topics that I actually had a chance to talk about with Amir, who, by the way, I think is going to join us as a guest appearance in the next 5 minutes or so here.
Okay.
Yeah. So one of the topics is this idea of partnering, or might I say, not being intimidated by your competitors. Knowing that there's a larger ecosystem, knowing that there's, again, enough sunshine to go around. So how have you dealt with this in your business? Obviously, the businesses that we play in, the sectors that we play in, there's providers, there's folks that do what we do. I think you do it better, and I think Dubb does it better, in my own humble opinion. But at the same time, we have competitors. What is your take on that?
So people laugh at me sometimes when I say this, but I've actually been one of those people where I'll speak to somebody and they might want Autoklose, and I will tell them not to purchase it. And here's why. As you said, there's a lot of players in the game. For someone using Autoklose, you need to be drilling email specific. If you're looking to do email and phone, Outreach.io is a better tool than ours. Like, if you're looking to go more multi-channel, then Outreach.io is a better tool. There's sales, there's tons of competitors. So what I think the most important is, I always tell people, it's better to have the right clients than have a client come with you just for the revenue, and then they're not going to end up being happy. So I tell people, there are a lot of competitors in our space. I will tell you what is good and bad about each one, and I tell them the truth. I never put competitors down because I embrace my competitors. But if you're looking for a specific thing, like email, we are your tool. But if you're looking for a multi-channel, we are not your tool. So I think you have to not try and bring on clients just to bring on the client and say, I have another client that got more revenue. Because at the end of the day, those are the clients that will be the biggest headache to you, that will ask for refunds, that will leave you bad reviews. So I always tell people, choose your clients that actually fit what you actually do. Don't bring on the clients just to bring them on.
I mean, that takes confidence. I know what it's like in the early days of a business, where you fight for those clients, and you fight to get them, and you fight to keep them.
Yeah.
And I know that mindset, and there's a little bit of healthy sort of desperation in that mindset. And I think that when you get to a more transcendent place in business, knowing your product market fit, knowing your ideal client, you start to realize that, if I try to boil the ocean, if I try to make everyone happy, no one's going to be happy.
Yeah.
And at what point did you realize that you needed to really focus on your ideal client and what their use case is?
Well, I think it was when when we were growing so quickly that my support couldn't handle all the growth. And then we realized that 90% of our clients weren't in our support. It was just a 10% of those. And then we looked at those 10% and kind of try and dissect them. Who are these 10%? What are they looking for? What business do they sell? Are we the right fit? And what we realized was those 10% that spend 90% of my support's time aren't even the right fit for our product. Meaning they're using our product in a specific way that might benefit them, but it's not the actual way you're supposed to use our product. So what we've done is, we've actually been proactive and reached out to them and say, hey, I think you're more looking for a CRM. You're looking for a CRM. There's tons of CRMs. Here are 3 recommendations in my reviews on all 3. I think that might be a better fit for you than Autoklose would be.
That makes sense.
My sales guys hate it because I take away commissions, I take away clients. But at the end of the day, I'm looking for the right people for the right product. And there's so many products out there nowadays that there's always new clients we can find.
That's so well said, man. When I look at my data charts, sometimes, it's this whack-a-mole game that we have to play where if we're more aggressive, if we go put the Facebook ads and we don't we accept people with a Gmail or a Yahoo account to sign up, all of a sudden our signups get to be a lot more. And we get this boost in signups. but then our conversion rate dips and then our churn rate increases.
Oh, yeah.
And it's this constant balance of our data, trying to figure out where the sweet spot is. What is the, ideal acquisition cost? What is the ultimate most truthful long lifetime value of the customer? What is the churn rate? What are your North Star metrics? What are the metrics that you live and die by? What can we learn from that?
So, I mean, the metrics we look for is we now focus more on website traffic. We focus big on SEO. That was one mistake I did early on. I didn't believe in SEO when I first started the company. For the first year and a half, we didn't do it. Then we hired an SEO girl, and I'll tell you, it's been unbelievable since. Backlinks, all that stuff, website traffic. But you just said it. One of the biggest things we had early on was tons of people just signing up for free trials. I'm talking about they'll create 50 accounts with the same email, with Gmail, Yahoo. Not only, you didn't even mention, all the fraudulent credit card charges that were on, and we had back charges and chargebacks and all that. Business emails are great because, as I said, you're better off getting 10 clients that are into your product and convert 3 or 4 than have 100 and you're only converting 10. Because ideally, you're wasting a lot of time. You got to clean up your CRM. But all the things you mentioned is the same stuff that we had early on. And we made some changes. One was only allowing the business email. So we didn't allow Gmail for a while. Adjusting the pricing a little bit. Making it a double opt-in so you don't get 50 accounts. We had the same sort of issues definitely early on.
Yeah, that makes sense. Here's one for you. There's these things that we can do that are sort of cannibal. Hi, Donnie. What's up, Donnie? Hey, say hi. We're on a podcast.
Hello.
So it's my 6-year-old, 7-year-old in how many days now? In like 2 weeks almost. So
13 days.
13 days. Nice. Okay, so here's my question. My question is: there are some massive cannibalizing things that SaaS companies can do in their business. One of those things is not allowing folks to sign up without putting a credit card in.
Yes.
Okay. So this is a massive cannibalizing thing for a business, potentially, right? And on the pros, everyone puts their credit card in. Nope. There's no one that's kicking the tires. Everyone is committed. On the flip side, if they are not committed, there is no room for some trial opportunity. Let me kind of test it out. What is your take on that?
That's a great question. It's something that we actually did early on. So early on, we forced everyone to put a credit card in. So what we ended up changing was,
I want to hear.
I think what you have to do is when you build a big enough brand that you can have people just put their credit card in. Like if I was in Salesforce, people trust me. But when I was early on in Autoklose, and a lot of people don't know who Autoklose were 2 years ago, they would mess with me like, oh, you're asking for my credit card already? Like, it was a little bit too much. So we started off with that, and then we took it away. But I would say it all depends on where you are as a brand with your business, and that will be when you can decide if you can do that now. Right now, I think I would feel comfortable doing it now, but 2 years ago when I did it, it was not a good move by us.
Yeah, I remember going through this thought process of, should we make it so that people have to put a credit card in? I mean, it would solve so many problems. That 100% of those people are at least a little bit committed here. I mean, you can't get past this gate, right? Yeah. The other one, I love what you said. There's a time for that. It really depends on the maturity of the business. It depends on definitely product market fit. It depends on what this client is. Where we landed on this is this idea that it's kind of new. What we're doing, it's kind of new. I mean, we didn't invent it per se, but we're just innovating on it. Yeah. So as a result, people need to get into this psychological mindset. It's not like there's a tool that they have that they've used before that they're looking for a replacement. This is something that potentially is completely new for them. So that's why we decided to just not require the credit card up front and just know that some people are going to kick the tires. And then we kind of leaned into that and we said, we have a social coefficient for what we do because when people create videos, when people share videos, other people see those videos and then they see Dubb, they know it's Dubb and they want to sign up. So we have this kind of social coefficient number that kind of makes it all worthwhile for us. But this is something I think about a lot.
I call it the viral loop.
Yes.
The viral loop.
Exactly.
But, one other thing that we can talk about the credit card is we had a lot of people use fake credit cards when we forced a credit card. And that just ended up being an accounting disaster, chargebacks, this, that. They were trying to test out credit cards. So we went in a different direction, but I do think for bigger companies, it's not a bad idea.
Yeah. Another thing that we went through was, this idea of real-time chat.
Yeah.
This was a whole convo, because what we were noticing, we used intercom at one point. We don't use intercom anymore, but we used them for some time. And we had 2 to 3 operators at any time that were able to answer questions in real time. And here's what we learned, and I'd like to get your take from this. What we learned is that the real-time response wasn't, it felt good from a customer experience because someone is live that's able to respond. But oftentimes the most difficult questions, it took hours to get back to them, because we would have to escalate it. We have to create a support video. We'd have to share an article. And then ultimately we were just kind of delaying these responses that ultimately took more time than we wanted to. And we migrated away from real-time chat. And now we completely leaned into a knowledge base, articles, videos, much more self-serve, and then email response. So we try to get back to folks as soon as possible. Sometimes it's within minutes, but we at least are transparent about the fact that sometimes it could take hours. What is your take on this? What is the process that you went through with this?
Great question. So we actually use intercom still right now on our software. I will say this, early on, that's another metric that we've been monitoring week by week. So early on, we had the same issues. We weren't getting back. But now we kind of pre-qualify people with early questions in intercom. But our reply rate, we reply to any support ticket, any sales question within 1 minute and 27 seconds. So right now, within 90 seconds, we have 2 people in support or 3 people sometimes in support, and they within 90 seconds always reply. For us, it is something that you never stop building. We have to build those articles. Every feature, we have to build a video. We have to build a resource center. So we do have all those resources, but at the end of the day, I will say that no matter what, they always know sometimes if they're talking to a bot or a person.
Yeah.
They always know. I mean, I always know. So it's still something that is a challenge. We are still using intercom, even though they are very costly, a lot more costly now than they were a few years ago. But the resource center is what we do also have. But we just, we find it easier to ask. But we also have intercom inside the app for people that have questions while they're in. So it's worked well for us. But I can see definitely how a resource center would be, less manual work, and you can probably get replies back right away.
Yeah, I tend to agree that I think that what we're experimenting with right now is this idea is, what if we had to make our knowledge base 90% perfect? What if we had to do that? And that's kind of the mindset that we got into, where instead of it's easy to respond to someone and say, hey, here's how you do X, Y, and Z. Just click on this, do this. Here's a screenshot, little red arrow pointing there, boom, done. That might take 5 minutes, and we can do that, right? But what we started to say was that, what if we just forced ourselves, really put in the discipline to say, you know what, we're not just going to do that short email. We're really going to lean in. We're going to put the animated GIF. We're going to use our own product. We're going to use Dubb. We're going to put a YouTube video in there, or a Dubb video, and it's going to be extremely, extremely informative. And that's kind of where we landed on this. This is a very new thing for us. So this is just a couple of months in. So far, I think the feedback has been positive with people, because our knowledge base just increased dramatically.
Yeah.
But some people do need that sort of hand holding, and we're trying to figure out ways to have the best of all worlds, And
I'd love to hear how that works out, because to be honest, like, now that I think about it, for the amount of support tickets we get in a day, we could probably personalize each one and send them a nice email, each one separately. So it'd be interesting to see how that works in the response time. And we also track how quickly we close a ticket. So I'd love to see those analytics from you guys when you guys actually do this test run.
Got it. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, that's a great metric, actually, the time to close a ticket. Now, I know that some companies, if they don't receive a response back from someone saying, hey, I'm all good, they actually do another follow-up and say, hey, I just wanted to make sure you're good. And then they close the ticket. Do you know your process on that? What's your take on that?
We do that as well. So we continue to follow up. If we don't hear back, I think 2 to 3 times we close the ticket. But ideally, if we're in the conversation within 90 seconds, Right now, we're about 5 minutes and 36 seconds average rate to close a ticket, which is pretty good. And we continue to work on that number because we believe we want people to stay in the software and be able to use it and not find so many issues. So having those two metrics, how long it is to answer their email and obviously close it, are two metrics we always look at.
Nice. How can folks learn about Autoklose? How can they connect with you? How can they get signed up with Autoklose?
Yeah, you can go visit the website, autoklose.com with a K, so it's KLOSC. Follow me on LinkedIn. I provide a lot of valuable resources, tips and tricks, all my presentations, podcasts, etc. And email me, Shawn, SHAWN, at autoklose.com. If you have any questions about anything we discussed today, I'm more than happy to help you guys.
Nice, man. And I think the fact that you give your email address like this is it's a testament to where you are in the product cycle. I think the most successful people are transparent with things. I think that they give their email address out. The editor of TechCrunch, if you go to his Twitter profile right now, his email address is right there. But if you go to some of the writers that are kind of climbing the ranks, they don't put their emails there. Right? And it's a theme. It's a theme I think that exists, that when you climb the mountain and you get closer to the top, you're more transparent about things.
Yep.
You're more confident. You're more concise. You're more honest about the things that you're doing. And these are just some traits right off the bat that I was able to gather from you, man. And I really appreciate this time, man.
Hey, thanks for having me on, Ruben. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Thanks so much, Shawn.
Take care.
All right. Bye-bye.